What up, fam? Aslan here. Going to do a bit of a foreword before we begin the podcast today. We recorded on Monday evening before the basketball game went final. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit about that so I don't upset the huge basketball contingent that listens to Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Florida State takes down Chicago State 113-56. Calling it a takedown is probably the understatement of the year. Florida State shot 66% from the floor, including 44% from behind 3 points, or the three-point line, as they like to call it, professionals. 66% from the field is just absurd. 5 guys in double digits, including freshman phenom Patrick Williams with a team-high 16, tied with Devin Vassell, who also had 16. Williams, 6 of 8. Vassell, 6 of 7. 113-56. What a freaking win for the Noles. Next up, the Emerald Coast Classic, Friday, 7 p.m., taking on Tennessee. I did ask Ira to provide a 2-sentence take from the game for the podcast, and Ira said, if Corey had played 10 minutes at shooting guard and Aslan played 10 minutes at small forward, Florida State still would have beaten Chicago State by 50. So there you go. He was there, boots on the ground as always. Let's start paying some bills. Let's talk football.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
What up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. He is Corey Clark. We work for Warchant.com. Use that promo code FSU New Era, 50% off to new members. There's also another promo out there, and it goes month to month, and you get a $25 gift card to Garnet and Gold to help you out with your Christmas shopping. You know what I'm giving everybody in my life for Christmas. That's gift cards at Zaxby's. What have you started yet, Corey? Are you in the Christmas mood yet? I am. I was at the mall the other day.
No, man. No, not until after Thanksgiving. I'm not one of those people that goes crazy Christmas until after Thanksgiving, and I don't put any Christmas decorations up until maybe second week of December. But I don't have. All I have is a fake Christmas tree that's like 3 feet tall. It's like a Charlie Brown tree.
What's the point if you're gonna do? Second week of December. What's the point of going through all that hassle and just having it for 10 days?
Well, but remember, I'm also not here all the time. So, I don't want to have like a Christmas vacation type thing going on, and then accidentally leave my lights on for a week while I'm not here, and then that's a $900 power bill. So can't do that, Aslan. But yeah, you're right. There's really not much of a point. I like to give Brady a little bit of a Christmas feel, but he gets most of that at his mom's house.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, Brady, I'm sorry you have to deal with this.
I buy all the presents though.
Okay, all right.
So that's how I make up for it.
That's fair.
By the way, I want to apologize to the listeners that I'm on a phone again. I just want you to know that Gene Williams has bought us a nice headset and a really nice microphone for me to use in instances just like this when I'm not in Tallahassee, and I forgot them both in Tallahassee. So. Which is weird that they were even down there to begin with, since I don't ever use them when I'm down there. But, so just I don't want you to blame Gene for that. That's completely Corey Clark's fault for leaving those both in Tallahassee.
I don't think anybody was remotely even going to think about blaming Gene. Why would you try to throw our boss under the bus?
Well, I didn't want them to think like, geez, Gene, you make all this money. You're the Don of the FSU beat. You can't give your guys some stuff to work with. They have to do all their daily podcasts on a phone. You have to literally phone it in. But I didn't want them to think that, so I went ahead and said that it's not his fault. I didn't know they might have thought that, but I think most people probably assumed it was my fault.
Well, in the last 30 seconds there, you kind of dipped in and out of 4G service, so that's really good, which is not as good as dipping in and out of Zach sauce. Last over-under coming up this week, folks, with a Zalad, free chicken fingers, and, of course, a T-shirt on the line. I haven't reached out to Gene, so we're going to probably have to think of the over-unders ourselves or something. So we're recording this right now on Monday evening. This will probably be broken up into 2 different shows to keep you tidy on Tuesday and Wednesday as you enjoy your holiday weekend, everybody. So We'll try to figure out some with the over-unders. But again, our friends at Zaxby's, I think next year, they're thinking about coming really strong next year, maybe giving away tickets, like really good tickets to home games. So
okay.
Good home slate as well. So they ain't going anywhere. We appreciate them. Hopefully you guys appreciate them as well. Support the folks that support us. Check out the Zaxby's here in Tallahassee, mainly. They're the best. We love them. I sure do. All right, Corey, before we dive into what's going to be probably a 2-part Renegade Express episode, we spoke to Odell Hagens on Monday afternoon. The Gator game is upon us. It is Florida week, Florida hate week, whatever you want to call it. Did a quick scan of Pro Football Focus, and my goodness, there's, I don't know, maybe a dozen metrics they use, and the only 3 metrics that Florida State is better than, graded out, than Florida is running, not run blocking, but I guess just absolutely, I guess running, whether that's, breaking tackles or running in the right lane. And then surprisingly, Florida State graded out higher tackling and as a pass rush, which is crazy. It's crazy years. I look, Florida's 5th in the nation in sacks, averaging nearly 3.5 per game. Florida State just a shade over 2.5, but that doesn't count hurries. Marvin's not there, so that's going to obviously hurt as well. Maybe this isn't, the run thing. That was something that Dan Mullen was asked on Monday, too. They don't have a conventional run game either. And I guess he was asked, how do you kind of compensate for that? And he says, well, just call other plays. It's pretty easy. So maybe that's a glimmer of hope, because Florida State's going to need to make them somewhat one-dimensional, or at least take away the run game, which is really difficult, obviously, with Marvin being gone. But maybe there's something that Florida State can build on there. Maybe Corey Dern will just play the game of his life in his backyard and stuff Florida, and maybe jump a couple routes. Stanford Samuels III. Hey, man, I don't want you to leave early, but if you want to put a game on tape that's really good against a top 10 SEC team, this would be a good opportunity. So I'm trying to build some optimism, but it's really hoping against all hope, right?
Well, not all hope, but most hope. I mean, they're a 17-point underdog for a reason. Them being ranked better at rushing the passer than Florida kind of devalues all the credence we put into the PFF to begin with. How is that even possible?
It's marginal.
That makes zero sense.
It's very marginal. As I look at the pass rush grade right here, which actually I had it pulled up, but I no longer have it pulled up. So actually, no, here it is. Pass rush for Florida State is 70.7, the grade. And then for Florida, it's 66.4. It's actually maybe not that marginal. I'm sorry, that's the tackling. I apologize. That's the tackling. The pass rush is 83.9 for Florida State. Florida's at 81.6.
That makes no sense. I get that, like, Marvin Wilson's a good pass rusher for a defensive tackle, but when you're just looking at the totality of a pass rush, the team that gets more sacks is better at rushing the passer, and they have defensive ends that can create real pressure. That's odd. But hey, whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe they're seeing things we don't. Like we just judge by sacks and like affecting the quarterback, and they're looking at other things.
Yeah.
But I don't like Florida State's chances of withstanding that pass rush, even though apparently they see a better one in practice every day. I don't see that holding up real well. Just can't really, other than turnovers and crazy special teams plays, I just can't envision a scenario where Florida State wins this one. Just because Florida's strength, to me anyway, defensively, is that pass rush. Florida State's weakness is, right on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage, right there, trying to block those guys. And that doesn't bode well. The team with a better defensive line, the team with a better defense, the team with a better quarterback, typically wins these games. So no, not all lost hope. Florida isn't unbeatable, but Florida State would have to play its best game of the season I don't know. It'd have to be by far the best game of the season just to have a chance in the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Wow, really? Just have a chance in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, man, because if Florida State plays as well as it possibly can, don't you think it'd still be close? Like, it would still come down to the final drive or two. I would be very surprised if Florida State did the game in the fourth quarter, and some things would have had to have gone really well. And James Blackman or Hornibrook or whoever will have to play really well for that to be a game in the fourth quarter. It's just, I'm just going by the Miami and the Clemson game. They played two defenses that are anywhere close to Florida's, that are similar. Clemson's obviously is better. Miami's is a little bit worse. Florida's right in the middle of those two. And they did diddly-poo against either one of those. Against both of those, they did absolutely nothing. So it's hard for me to imagine them going on the road on Saturday night with an interim coach. I know they love Odell, but it's the last game of the season. They've already qualified for a bowl. I just don't see them going out there and being able to run the ball. And if they're one-dimensional, that's going to make things really bad for Blackman, in my opinion. Or Hornibrook. Again, I keep assuming Blackman, but hey, who knows? Maybe Hornibrook is healthy and they want to give him another shot.
Yeah, I tried asking Odell kind of where they stay on the quarterback situation. He said it's something that he and Kendall talk about. It's a staff decision, so I guess stay tuned on that front because you would imagine that Hornibrook's probably healthy again or healthy-ish. And the last time both these guys were healthy, and before a big game, which was against a state rival, was the Miami game, and Hornibrook started that one. The only thing that really kind of the sort of not silver linings, but maybe I think Florida State does go for broke in this game. I do think there are certain wrinkles they worked on when they were at IMG with Blackman and both Cam and Laybourne in the background flanking him. Laybourne, apologize, sorry, Kalen. And he would get the handoff, hands it off to his left side, and then Laybourne, and Aker start running to the right, and then Laybourne pitches it to Cam. And there's certain wrinkles that they have not unleashed in game situations that we know for sure they've worked on. I think that is something that is obviously a nice little benefit. And, maybe, with Andrew Baselli at the controls, anchoring the line, maybe there's a little bit better communication or a little better tempo or just something a little bit better there. He will be available. That was somebody that Kendall kind of spoke highly of going into the Miami game. He didn't play in the Alabama State game. He had a bit of an ankle issue, things of that nature. I think the offense might be able to surprise. I think it's going to be throw everything you have at them in the first half and then kind of hang on for dear life. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the craziest thing to hope that Florida is going to make some mistakes. Dan Mullen sometimes does get too cutesy in these really big games, these big rivalry games. But this is not. There's not as much. These teams aren't close enough, I think, to where it's going to make enough of a difference. He might actually coach a little bit looser. I think he gets a little bit tight when he knows he's got a really tough opponent that's a rival across the field from him. He probably doesn't see the kind of the fight that he had from Georgia or Ole Miss when he was at Mississippi State. But I don't know. I feel like 17. I think the good guys will cover that. I'll take those points. Give me the points, please.
Do you really?
Yeah.
If you had money, if you were actually going to bet, you would take Florida State in the points?
Yeah, man. Although, I don't know. The night game scares me a little bit. The wheels could definitely come off. But I do think, this is probably Cam's last game. I don't think he'll play a bowl game, especially if it's ice cold Shreveport. It's not good for the joints. I could see him running pretty hard. I could see James Black making a couple throws. Some big shots to Maury and Terry out there causing some problems. I see the best in this team maybe coming out. They've got 2 weeks to plan for it, so why not?
Yeah, man. I think the offense they might surprise us. They might get hit a couple big plays, do some trick plays, score 20 points. But this defense has shown me nothing for feels like 6 or 8 weeks. And I just have no trust that they're going to be able to affect Trask at all. And I think he's going to stand back there all day and make every throw he needs to make. And just because they, despite what PFF says, they don't get a pass rush. Even when they blitz, they don't get home. And I just don't like their chances. The Alabama State game was, I know they only scored 12 points, but good grief. They punted 4 times, which was their lowest amount all season. And against Boston College, they just got riddled in the fourth quarter. They're just not very good. They're not a very good defense, and they're going up against a decent offense. So I don't know how they hold Florida under 35, 34. That would be really surprising to me if Florida didn't score at least 34, 35 points.
That's fair. I just think that, the Alabama State game was just total letdown city. I mean, gloomy day. You just beat Boston College, which was the game that you had to win. You have the next week off. Florida's looming in 2 weeks. A bunch of guys are out. So, it would have been nice to see Florida State go for the jugular, win that game 56-3 or something like that. They did not. So
I'm just going to pass rush. That's all I wanted to see. Was just affect the quarterback. But that kid dropped back, 45 times and was sacked twice. That's just not a great sign moving going into this game, because it's not like they're going to get better on the defensive line in the last 2 weeks. Maybe Janoris and Durden are healthier, and that could help. Actually, that should help. I don't think either one of those guys have been right for a month, and I think they're both good players when they're healthy. So maybe these 2 weeks off have really helped them, and they can be difference makers. Because remember Dabo, the first guy he pointed out was number 11.
Yeah.
Like Janoris I know it was against their second team mostly, but he was a wrecking ball in the Clemson game. So he does have that in him. So maybe the 2 weeks off have really helped him, and he can become an impact player, because they definitely need one up front. Those two guys have not been good for a while, but that's also because they've been hurt, I think.
As a team, Florida has rushed for 1,366 yards. Their leading rushers, LaMichael Pirine, 520. I mean, Cam's got over 1,000. But they are just so balanced in terms of their receiving threats. Kyle Pitts, their tight end, leads them with 46 catches, 566 yards. Then they've got 5 guys that have 30 or more catches. And that's tough to kind of defend against. Actually 6 if you count LaMichael Pirine catching passes out of the backfield. So, yeah, the defense obviously for Florida State has been the sort of weakness, the most inconsistent part of this team, and gives you the most concern. But who knows, man? 2 weeks of Jim Leavitt on the field, hands-on. Mario Edwards, hands-on. Florida State's got good cornerbacks. I mean, Stanford Samuels III is a decent college cornerback. Asante Samuel's a decent college cornerback. I do wonder who's going to cover Kyle Pitts, their tight end. But, Hams is an above-average safety. So Levante, hey man, again, like last chance, put something good on tape. So I hope they will keep it close. I think they'll keep it close.
Me too, buddy. I'm with you.
I'll parlay it. 7:30 SEC Network, Saturday night, Gainesville. That's going to be great. Won't get out of that dump until 2 a.m. Excited. I'm excited.
Get home at 4:30, wake up at 12:30, and then go watch some NFL football.
And then get an email.
Hey, have you seen?
From Florida State?
Did you know that Jameis Winston is second in the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns?
Really? Well, see, it's the defense's fault. It's bad drafting around him.
I mean, he's also got 20 interceptions.
Yeah, no, I'm
is
kidding.
like
I'm kidding.
6 more than everybody else. But he legitimately has a chance at a 5,000-yard season, which I think would be the 3rd or 4th in NFL history. He's on pace for a 5,000-yard season. And he's on pace to throw 30 touchdowns and 35 touchdowns and 32 interceptions. He could have a 30-30 season with 5,000 yards passing.
Him and Jose Canseco, that 30-30 club. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think he'd be the first one. He'd be the initial member of the 30-30 club. That would be awesome. He'd be like, I guess, Willie Mays. I don't know who the first 30-30 guy was, but he'd be breaking barriers in the NFL.
Something drastic needs to happen to him that it makes him stop turning the ball over. Like, he needs to be hypnotized and believed, and he needs to believe that, like, his family is going to be hurt if he throws an interception. Like, something really drastic needs to be programmed into his subconscious to make him stop doing it, because he makes phenomenal throws, and then he just makes the most boneheaded decisions right after it. And there's just so much to work with. There's so much good in his game. The turnovers, but it's been so long. It's like 5 years. It's not going to change. I don't know how you can change it, but yeah, it's something needs to shake him to his core to make him stop doing that. He actually would be a top 15 quarterback in the league, top 10. Maybe he is top 15 in some people's books. But yeah, it's crazy the numbers he's putting up.
The interceptions are rough, but I think they're 4th in total offense. They're 3rd in scoring offense. And maybe if they had a more conservative quarterback, they would be like 18th and 16th. You know what I mean? Like he makes some throws that probably shouldn't be made, but they turn into huge plays and touchdowns. They also turn into interceptions. So it's the risk versus reward, the live by Jameis, die by Jameis. I just think that's who he is. That's how he's wired. He's like Brett Favre, man. He's just going to throw picks. He's gonna try to throw in the small windows. He's going to trust his receivers. He's not going to want to take. He never wants to really throw the ball out of bounds because that's like admitting defeat. So he's always going to take chances he shouldn't take. It's just a question of if the Bucs look at this guy and say, well, my gosh, he's going to throw for 5,000 yards, and we're going to be top 5 in the league in total offense. Are we going to re-sign him? Are we cool with 25 to 30 interceptions? as long as we're scoring a bunch of points too. Like it'd be really fascinating to see him on like the Vikings, a team that has a really good defense that doesn't need you to go score 32, 34 points a game. Like what he would look like then. Would he be willing to dial it down and be like Kirk Cousins?
No. I mean, you answered your
I
own
don't think
question.
so. Yeah.
No. All right, let's take a break. We'll dive into the Renegade Express questions, at least part one of it, on this edition of Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Coming right back.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Noles since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. This portion of the show, though, we're like NASCAR. We just came out of an ad by the great, renowned Dr. Heather Birch. Got to plug Zaxby's, of course, my poultry papa. Now it's time for the Renegade Express getting on the ponies. It's brought to you by First Commerce Financial. First Commerce Financial will look at your current mortgage statement at no cost and no obligation to see if they can provide you with a better option. If you're in the market to purchase a home, they can also save you money as they provide some of the best rates without those junk fees associated with most mortgages. They have already helped over 230 Floridians save money this year with the options they have available and are ready to help you with your mortgage or refinancing needs. All you got to do is call 248-207-2404 or visit them online at firstcommercefinancial.com. Mention you heard them on Warchant, whether it's Wake Up Warchant or warchant.com. It's all the same. All comes from the same pot. And with that said, Corey, let's go to warchant.com. Let's go to the Renegade Express. First question, AKB726. Wake up, he says. How do y'all think the backstory will go when Bob is named next Monday, and y'all's opinion on the whole smokescreen conspiracy? I've talked about it enough with my fellow posters. I'd like to hear from you and Corey. Also, being Thanksgiving, I'm very thankful for the work that's put in season after season. Recruiting with Michael Langston, Ira and Corey's groundbreaking articles. Wouldn't be Wake Up Warchant without you, Aslan. Last but not least, Gene keeping all you crazies in line. Enjoy every minute. All caps, 2 exclamation marks. Go Noles. Well, thank you, AKB726.
Like that.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way to start off the Renegade Express. What will the backstory be when Bob is named next Monday, and what's our opinion on the whole smokescreen conspiracy? I talked a little bit about it yesterday. You know, the Stoops truthers. Somebody got offended. Somebody got hurt that I kind of poked fun at them. They're like, "You're a drama queen, Aslan. Leave us alone." So yeah, I'll leave them alone.
So he identifies as a Stoops truther?
I would think so. I mean, if you got offended by it, if you call me a drama queen, calling me names, I would think you probably got a little bit offended by it. I don't know, man. I cannot see any smoke screen. I don't know what the backstory would be. I just don't know unless like Vince McMahon has some really draconian contract that Bob Stoops signed, and Bob Stoops didn't want to draw the wrath of Triple H and Vince McMahon and The Undertaker, and he's like, man, I got to wait till the absolute last second. Or Mark wanted this job so bad, so I stepped away so that Mark could interview and think that he legitimately had a shot, but I've just been lying in wake to take this. Just there's no – and listen, I don't know what you folks want me to do if I'm wrong, and I'll probably agree to some really crazy stuff if I'm wrong. I just don't see any way how this would make sense. I can't see it happening at all.
I feel like you would want nothing more than to be 100% wrong.
I like 95. I'm falling in love with the Mats. I really am falling in love with the Mats. And I think, Rule, you probably have to throw everything at him that you were going to get ready to throw at Bob Stoops. But I kind of I think Matt Campbell's the good backup plan. Like, you know, people keep talking about Odell and Orgeron. I think you should look at Orgeron in terms of they wanted Jimbo, couldn't get him. They wanted Tom Herman, they couldn't get him. And, look how good they're doing now. Sometimes you maybe overthink things, or you think the priciest option's the best option, and not to denigrate or diminish what Bob Stoops has accomplished, but everything they would give him to make him come here, those expectations would be so lofty that, yeah, if he doesn't win a national title within 3 years, you feel like, what do we just do? What's the point then, to a certain degree? So I feel that the Mats would come here with a little bit more tempered expectations, and it'd probably be a funner ride overall. But no, man, Bob Soups wants to come here. By all means, I'll be at Millionaire when you're getting off the private jet. I'll be there. I wouldn't be mad at all.
I mean, if it were to happen, it would be really, really interesting what the last 2 weeks have been like. And I'm sure we would get maybe not the whole inside story, but a good portion of the inside story and what exactly was going on that Friday when they went out of their way to say he was no longer a candidate. We would get the reason as to why that happened. So I'd be interested in it. I think it'd be a really interesting story.
Oh, yeah. We'll see. Maybe one of these days. Leon Knoll 12. Fellas, you get to have 2 coaches and 2 players over for a tell-all Thanksgiving. And you get to ask them what happened these last 2 years. Who are you picking and why? Woo! Man, that's a great question. Oh, shoot. I don't know. You want to take this one first, Corey? Or you want me to stall and give my answer? I don't even know what my answer is going to be. That's a great question. 2 coaches, 2 players for a tell-all Thanksgiving. We get to ask them what happened these last 2 years. Like, who would just absolutely bring it unhinged? I think Randy Clements. Well, Randy Clements hasn't been here for 2 years. You need Odell or like Mario Edwards. You need somebody who's actually been here the last 3 years, I think, really. I would love to talk to Randy about like what he thinks about Willie Taggart as like an offensive mind or a play caller. But I guess I would take Odell because it would be off the record or wouldn't be with a camera in front of him. So I bet you'd be pretty candid. And I guess, I mean, golly, who else? I think Telly. I think like Telly Lockett would actually be a good dude. Would tell you a lot of stuff. As for the players, who would just absolutely unload? Maybe Dontavius Jackson, although I feel like Dontavius would have a lot of emotion, like kind of bitter, sour grape sort of stuff, so I don't know how believable he would be. Maybe Corey Durden. I think Corey Durden would probably just, let it all out as well.
I would go with Blackman.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Probably Marvin Wilson. I think Marvin give it to you straight. He's a straight shooter, and an intelligent kid, so he would know what was interesting and what wasn't. And I think just a football guy, like he would know, okay, this was normal, this wasn't normal. And then I would go with the 2 offensive coordinators, Bell and Bryles.
I do need Wall. Yeah, I'll sub out Telly, and let me get Odell and let me get Walt. I want to talk to Walt.
But also Blackman would be great because he got the last year of Jimbo.
Yeah.
So that would be really interesting too. So I'd want to know those are the 2 players for sure.
All right, I like that one. Turntull lives, not Turtle, but Turntull. You're the number 1 linebacker recruit in the nation, and it's you and your mom discussing which team and coach you should go play for to achieve your dream of winning the butt kiss and going to the NFL first round. Option 1, Matt Campbell from FSU explains his years of coaching great linebackers and how he can help you get to the next level. Option 2, Jack Del Rio from FSU explains his years of coaching great linebackers and how he can help you get to the next level. You are the recruit in this situation. You have heard from 42 schools. You do some background research on Wikipedia. Who do you believe more? I guess Del Rio, but I hope this is not trying to like vouch and cape for Jack Del Rio because I don't want Jack Del Rio. But yeah, he's been in the NFL. He played the position. He's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator. I would imagine he probably has a little better grasp of what works at the next level. I guess the question would be: are these both your head coaches, or are they going to be your defensive coordinator, or your position coach?
I assume head coach is what he's. They're both head coaching candidates. I would say
I'll take Del Rio, but I still love Matt Campbell.
I don't know. I don't think I'd do. What does Del Rio know about coaching Butkus winners or coaching really good college linebackers? I mean, he was in the NFL forever. I get it. He can coach NFL talent. He can coach guys that have already made themselves NFL players, but he can coach you into an NFL player. That would be my counter to his recruiting pitch. Plus, didn't his kid play quarterback at Florida?
Yeah, Luke Del Rio. I think he went from like Colorado State to Alabama to Florida, or Alabama to Colorado State to Florida. He bounced around a bunch of places.
Yes, but I mean, he played at Florida, so we don't know if there's always that chance that Del Rio's like a double agent, and he's trying to sabotage the Florida State program because he has some great feelings towards Florida.
True.
So I would stay away from that.
Yeah. What's with all the NFL guys that had their kids play there? Schottenheimer played there. Marty Mortonwage's son played there. Del Rio's son ended up there. Weird.
It is weird. Right.
Northeast Seminole. He's been around since March 29, 2002. Wake up, gents. Love the show. You two and the entire Warchant team are the best. Been following long before the Rivals affiliation when it was just called the Rumor Mill, and you could dial an 800 number and get recruiting tips. That was the beginning of the era of dominance. And speaking of such, as I stare at my signed Corey Simon jersey, I wonder if we will ever get a truly Mickey-like defense again. A defense that is dominant in all phases, that plays to the echo of the whistle. Give me some hope, and a great holiday to you and the others, Ira, Mike, and Gene as well. Yeah, it can happen, man.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it was here 6 years ago. Jeremy Pruitt did it. Yeah, we get back to running around, aggressive and tackling folks. Man, watching that 49er Monday night game against the Packers, I would love a defense like that, which is obviously asking for the world. But just to see like cornerbacks running up full speed on those bubble screens, like there's no hesitation. Like I'm going to run as fast as I can at this guy, and if he jukes me out, I'm going to probably shade him to the boundary, and he'll have to run out of bounds. And if I miss him, my backup's going to come help me out. I think I'm the offensive guy, but I think that's probably what I miss most maybe about Florida State. It's just like a nasty, salty defense. Even though I'm the offensive guy.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while too. 15, I guess you'd say, is the last time they had a good defense, and that was with Derwin and Jalen. Yeah, and then before that, like even their I was gonna say even their 2011, 2012 defenses, they weren't turnover creating machines like the 13 one was. But they were really aggressive too, man. They hit hard and they were physical up front and they were physical at linebacker. Their corners and safeties made play. I mean, it was just a good defense. But you're right, man. Like I watched the Georgia-Texas A&M game, and neither one of those offenses is very good. But holy moly, do those defenses just get after it? And I just can't imagine that the talent on Georgia's roster is that much better than Florida State's. I know it is better. I know it's substantially better, but it looks like they're two different sports. Watching the Georgia defense and watching the Florida State defense, I don't understand why if you don't have great talent, you still can't be crazy aggressive and physical, and you just don't see it a lot from the Florida State defense. And the sneaky little secret about Georgia's defense is they have almost no pass rush. They don't even seem to care about getting sacked. But they still impact the quarterback, and they take away throwing lanes. They're very, very good at playing zone, other than in the national championship game where they let the guy run right by.
That is my one kind of concern with Matt Campbell is that his defensive coordinator, like John Heacock, he's just I don't think he reminds me kind of like what the Hugh Freeze dynamic he had at Ole Miss with Dave Womack. Like Dave Womack was this old-time kind of salty dog defensive coordinator that he actually kind of brought out of retirement when he was at Arkansas State. They did well enough to get the Ole Miss job, so he kept him around. And that defense was actually okay for a little bit, but eventually they kind of fell off. I just wonder about how aggressive they really are. And again, I haven't really watched a lot of Iowa State games, but I'm it's the whole thing of there's a guy he's like a 60-year-old defensive coordinator, and he's never been anywhere. He has the highest echelon he's ever really coached at was Youngstown State, which is a FCS power, but again, it's a different sort of ball game. I do wonder if that's my one of the hangups I would have with a guy like Matt Campbell. Although he has he's got both him and Rule, they both have overall, so they have a really good grasp of football overall. They both have offensive and defensive sort of foundation to who they are and what they've learned and what they've coached under. So. But yeah, it would be nice to have just some sort of really crazy maniac defensive coordinator making these guys just fly around and play crazy. Fast, physical, and aggressive. That'd be really cool. I'd sign up for that.
That'd be cool to see. Yeah, that'd be something different.
Yeah. Get down black. Wake up, guys. Just want to say I got my T-shirt. I will be rocking it for the last regular season game. I hope it brings some luck. As usual, 5 stars and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. His name is Leroy.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And everybody, if you get a shirt from this show, you need to wear it as often as possible. Because it is it's a sign that you're a true Florida State fan, I think.
Renegade Express Q's. Wake up! What are your go-to Thanksgiving dishes? What dishes do you hate? I
don't eat potatoes.
What?
So I guess I don't know if that's a Thanksgiving dish. It's just a regular dish. But I don't eat potatoes, so I'll throw those on the ground if I get them.
No mashed potatoes.
Dressing and gravy, man. That dressing. I call her my granny. My granny makes this, or made. She just passed away. This incredible dressing. It was literally the best thing about Thanksgiving my whole life. I would eat a whole pan of it. It was incredible with the giblet gravy. Which, if you don't know what giblet gravy is, don't look it up. You don't need to. It's pretty gross. But it's really good on dressing and turkey. And that's just my go-to. That's my all-time favorite meal. And, yeah, that's my go-to right there.
Wow.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it, Aslan.
I didn't realize you were Southern without the O. You're like S-U-T-H. You're Southern. Giblet gravy.
Yeah,
Giblet gravy.
My mom's family's from Griffin, man.
All right. Yeah, that's culture right there, man. Giblet gravy.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm a standard dude. I need turkey. I need mashed potatoes with gravy on it. Ira, I will fight and defend his honor. I will die on the hill with him proudly that stovetop stuffing is the best stuffing, dressing, whatever you folks want to call it.
Boy.
And I do need cranberry sauce. I absolutely need cranberry sauce. You need something different to cut through all the salt and butter and the savoriness of the dish. I can't imagine a plate at Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce. As to what I hate, I'm not a big sweet potato guy. So
me either.
I'm not a big sweet potato guy.
All right. What about pumpkin pie?
Oh, come on, man. Yeah. Pumpkin pie, pecan pie. Love it. All the pies. All about it. I don't discriminate.
All right. Well, good, man. Good.
Little.
We don't do a ton of pies. I think we do like a key lime pie.
Okay.
And a chocolate pie.
Oh.
But and another thing, my sister makes incredible sausage balls.
Okay.
Because we don't eat, because we're a goofy family and it really angers me. We don't eat our meal until like 7 o'clock at night. Most people are already on their leftovers. Twitter's just lit up with people eating their leftovers, and they eat their real meal at 12:30, and yet I have to wait all day till 7. So the only thing I eat is sausage balls, like as an appetizer, and I'll probably eat 25 of them.
I'm down with that. We usually don't eat dinner until usually halftime of the Cowboys game. Once halftime.
Okay, so you're right on par with us, basically.
Yeah, the folks that wake up and then eat at 1 o'clock. I think culturally too, Iranian folks, Middle Eastern, we eat dinner late regardless. 365. But so it's not different on Thanksgiving. But yeah, the folks who is it's 2 o'clock, we're done. I'm about to take my nap. I'll wake up and I'm gonna have my leftovers. When I wake up at 4 o'clock for the second game, it's like, good Lord, pace yourself.
So I wish I lived that life. I don't get to, but I can't really complain much since I don't cook or host it.
There you go.
I just have to eat when my sister tells me it's time to eat.
Nolway 85, wake up, my Warchant brothers. This Thanksgiving, I will be thankful for a win over the Gators and James Franklin as our new head football coach. What do you think the odds of either of these things happening?
Well, let me say this. I don't think James Franklin is going to be the next head coach at Florida State. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I still think it's better odds that he is than Florida State wins in
oh, my gosh. No respect. None.
I would say it's 25% to 33% that it would be Franklin, probably 25%. And I would say it's about 12%, 10 or 12% that they actually win the game.
I think it's more likely the Gators lose. The Florida State beats Florida. But probably 15% and James Franklin 5%.
Okay, all right, fair.
It has to be posturing. It has to be posturing to get some, either a raise or to get some facility or stuff. Just none. I understand. There's supposed he's clashing with the front, not the front office, but the administration. I guess people might have said the same thing about Jimbo. He's not going to leave.
Yeah, but Jimbo got $75 million.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Jimbo left for the exact same salary. He went to a lesser program, obviously, but for a lot more money. So, what are you going to do?
And this is something that we don't talk about enough because it's slandering your own environment. The ACC is where you want to be. You just got to beat one team. I think the Pac-12, everybody there, no one's coming out of that conference alive, but it's like if you beat Clemson, you're probably going places, which is a lot easier than having to beat Ohio State or Michigan or Wisconsin. Minnesota might be actually decent now. Who knows if Nebraska ever gets off the ground with Scott Frost. The ACC, I know it's been a down year. Who knows what Scott Satterfield will do at Louisville. Maybe they'll come back a little bit. But, the Coastal is always going to be the Coastal, it feels like. And pretty much you just have Clemson to deal with. And if you're at Florida State, you're well-positioned to be able to compete with them. Maybe in terms of allure and all that kind of stuff, Florida State brings that to the table. But, man, it's a Power 5 job. And all you got to do is compete with one team, and you have everything you need to compete with them. That should be one of the biggest sells. You talk about Matt Campbell wanting to be somewhere where it's big time. Like if you're somewhere big time, come somewhere where it's big time, but you're big fish, small pond, as opposed to being big fish, big pond in the Big Ten when you're at Penn State. So,
well, if you're a place like Florida State in the ACC, coaching at Louisville or Wake is different than coaching at Florida State. You come to Florida State, you expect to have the best roster. You should be able to load your roster with more talent than any other team in the conference aside from one. So at that point, it just becomes, okay, can you coach it up? And I'm sure he assumes he can. So, yeah, your chances of finishing top 10, your chances of getting to the playoff, whether you beat Clemson or not, although you probably need to, but your chances of all that are upgraded exponentially at a place like Florida State compared to Iowa State. So, yeah, it is appealing. And, look, the ACC is awful this year. It's not very good at all. But there have been years where it's been pretty darn good. But it's still Florida State, Clemson, and everybody else.
Yeah.
It has been legitimately for a decade. It's been a two-team conference as far as nationally relevant teams. Miami snuck in the top 5 a couple of times, but they were fraudulent both times. The only programs that are traditional sustainable powers are Florida State and Clemson. And you're playing against teams that are seemingly always in transition. So, yeah, it's a pretty easy road. Like that, I think the 2013 Florida State team, I think it would have gone undefeated if it had played an SEC schedule. But it wouldn't have gone undefeated the way it did in the ACC. I mean, it torched those teams.
Right.
So, yeah, man, when you have a good team, it can be a much easier run. Think about, like, this schedule. How many good teams did the 2019 Florida State Seminoles play? Like good teams. 2.5? Do you say Boise State's a good team?
Yeah, Boise State's a good team. They're ranked. They're going to finish ranked.
So Boise State, Clemson, and Florida. That's it.
Right.
And you gotta hope you can win one of those. And then if you just take care of the rest, you're looking at at least a 9-win season. An 8 or 9-win season should be the absolute floor at Florida State. But we've seen that there's been a hole in the floor, and we've fallen through the basement into the middle of the earth the last 3 years.
Yeah, you just can't envision a guy at his introductory press conference. I'm so glad to be here. It's going to be so much easier than where I was last year, so I can't wait to get started. But that's got to be in the back of your head. I mean, if I'm an agent, I'm telling my guy, listen, like this is sustainable. This will get you to a national title game. This will get you to the playoffs, and then you can start hitting all your accelerators in your contract and your bonuses, and then you can start leveraging for more stuff. A lot easier here than it is everywhere else. That's
yeah. Jimbo's finding that out. And look, here's the thing about what I saw. There was a lot of boasting on Twitter on Saturday night after that Georgia loss by Texas A&M. Look, man, they're going to finish 7-5 most likely, but I mean, the 5 of those losses were to top. 3 of the losses will be to the number 1 team in the country, which is unprecedented, and then another loss to Auburn and another loss to number 4, number 3 Georgia. Man, that's an unbelievable schedule, and they're not getting blown out. So I do think, I know people don't want to hear this, and this isn't Aggie headlines. I do think there's a chance he's got that thing going in the right direction, because eventually you got to imagine they will maybe start winning those games. But they also might not. Jimbo loses a lot of close games. He did it in 17, and he's kept that trend going in 18 and 19. But I don't hold this 7-5 record, man. Those 5 losses are. I think the worst game of the season for A&M was the Arkansas game, which they won, ironically.
Right. Yeah.
That to me was the quintessential Jimbo game. Like, you almost blow it to an awful team who ends up firing their coach. That was ridiculous. But all their other losses, man, you know, what teams would have beaten those teams? Like, that's just a really tough ask. I will say this, though, to counter that, what are we doing with our offense, Jimbo? What's going on there, man? You scored 10 against Clemson. You scored 12 against, or 13 against Georgia. Like, you're supposed to be the offensive guy. When is your offense going to start scoring points against good defenses? Anyway, moving on.
Maxwell Gibbs, happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen. I'm very thankful for the two of you making my morning walks with my dog and subway commute much more enjoyable. I'm also thankful that Willie Taggart is no longer coaching this program and will be sitting at home on Saturday and not in the swamp. Maxwell's never going to let this die. I love it. Keep being you, Maxwell. Keep bringing that energy. No, this is not the least anticipated Florida game in our lifetime. That was a question I posed to our subscribers. He says the 2009 game was. Although I'm not picking an upset on Saturday, I can see it happening. As do I, Maxwell. Dream that dream. That being said, here are my 3 keys to an FSU win on Saturday. Get the ball to Cam out in space. Utilize Jordan Travis, but also wrinkle in some passing plays for him. On the defensive side of the ball, 3, not 6. Also, this may not be a popular opinion, but if we were 6-6 and our bowl invite would be some crap like Shreveport or the Gasparilla Bowl, FSU should decline the invite. This is FSU. We're better than those games. Side note, Manny Diaz. Ha 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 ha. Poor guy won't last more than 3 seasons in Coral Gables, losing on the old side of the Orange Bowl to Butch Davis. Wow. A lot to unpack there.
That is crazy that he lost to Butch Davis, of all people to lose to.
Bring him home. Bring him back home, Miami.
The last good coach Miami had.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I would say the 2009 game. That's the only game in my lifetime where Florida State, in my opinion anyway, where Florida State went into it with 0 chance to win. Yeah. Like, no, you just knew what I don't know what the spread was, probably 22 or 21, but Florida could have named their score. That was a complete mismatch. This one isn't that. Number one, that Florida team was ungodly talented and had some ungodly people on it. But they were incredible, and Florida State wasn't. This Florida team is just a pretty good team. They just happen to be better than Florida State. And it's a bad matchup. But yeah, crazier things have happened. They could pull off an upset. It's funny though. Ira asked me what I was going to write this week. I did end up writing a column about Odell. Surprise, surprise. But about, like, to me, how cool it is that he gets to coach in this game, because nobody knows this rivalry or has been a part of as many big moments in this rivalry as Odell. I mean, when you think about it, he was there for Bobby's last regular season game. He was there for Urban's last game, Jimbo's last game. He's choke at Doak, Peter Warrick throwing to Ron Dugans, Winston, Benjamin, like everything that's happened at Florida. He's been part of 2 brawls. 89, there was a brawl before the game or right in the middle of the game, and then there was a brawl after the game in 2003, or a near brawl. He's just seen it all. So I wrote about that anyway, how cool it is that he gets to take part in this as the head coach, probably for the final regular season game of his career. But Ira asked me, he's like, hey, man, why don't we you want to write about, like, unlikely wins in Florida State history against Florida? And I'm like, dude, I don't think there have been any.
Yeah.
He's like, come on, that can't be true. I'm like, man, can you remember Florida State being an underdog, like a decided underdog in this rivalry and winning a game?
Somebody was trying to tell me 2002, but no, I mean 2002 and 3, like they were evenly matched teams. So there was you're nervous obviously because you don't want to ever lose to this team. But yeah, there's in terms of being an underdog, no. I mean I think the only big surprise, maybe it's been Florida. Like Florida in 2004 should not have won, and then 97 they shouldn't have won. So yeah, Florida State has never really shocked the Gators. Just hasn't worked out.
And even then the 97 game, Florida State might have been favored by like 4 points. Like Florida was still ranked 7th or 8th in the country.
Yeah, wasn't it?
So, by the way, that's my stat. I did it last year. I'm going to do it this year. I just tweeted about it. The teams met 12 times in the 1990s because there were 2 Sugar Bowl rematches. All 12 times they were both ranked in the top 10.
Suck it,
which
Iron
is
Bowl.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's just absolutely stupefying that both programs were that good for an entire decade. The best decade the best decade of one rivalry in the history of sport. History of sports, not just college sports, not just college football. The history of sports. That's the best decade a rivalry has ever had.
What about 1970s Oklahoma-Nebraska?
Screw those corn eaters.
I'm just kidding.
Nobody cares about that.
As for the bowl game, absolutely, I'm going. I don't care where it is. You do not decline the invite. You take those practices. You take another opportunity to be on TV to show recruits what you're doing. Get whoever's
you
going
give
to
the new head coach a chance to scout his team, too.
Yeah, that. He'll be on the sideline, shots of him on the sideline or in the stands, and they talk about him and Florida State's new sort of regime and all that kind of good stuff. So absolutely, you take the bowl invite. Also, somebody was a little bit, I shouldn't say defensive, but people were wondering why I discounted the Gator Bowl as a possibility. I mean, you got to beat Florida to even sneak into the Gator Bowl because as it sits right now, Florida State's actually fourth in the ACC Atlantic. The last, I didn't look at all. There's no reference that shows you what the record of every team was when they went into the Gator Bowl. But the 2012 game, which was the 2011 season, Florida was 6-6 going into that bowl game. They were third in the SEC East. But that 2011 season was Alabama, LSU in the national title game. So two teams from the SEC go to the national title game and kind of, high tide lifted all the boats. So that's what snuck them in there. And then Florida State, obviously, in 2009. But that, as you mentioned on the show the other day, that's Bobby Bowden's last season, his last game. You don't want to, send the all-time winning coach to Shreveport. So he got to go to Jacksonville. That said, whatever. Send me to Detroit, send me to Shreveport, send me to Tampa. I'll be happy. I will do it gladly. Let's take
I definitely want to be sent to Jacksonville.
Yeah, let's take one more question. This one's a little more topical, and then we're going to probably just end up recording another show right after this, but we're going to pretend that it's the next day. But whatever. This one comes from Rob Clifton. Says, "Wake up, A-Man, Sea-Dog. Can you discuss your thoughts and ideas behind this article written in the Tampa Bay Times? Thanks, guys. Go Noles. Giving thanks this year for Zaxby's." And the link he posted was the story that the Tampa Bay Times did on Willie Taggart's contract, non-contract. It's been kind of making some waves on the internet. It's not an absurd article, but it's a little bit foolhardy to really get too worked up and lathered over it. Basically, the gist of it, the crux of it, is the fact that the paperwork that we've all had because of the Sunshine State laws, the public record, it was a notice of agreement between Florida State and Willie Taggart. It wasn't a, quote, employment contract, but it was a 9-page document. It wasn't like this thing was signed on a bar napkin. And basically it's kind of saying, does this open Florida State up to possibly, being able to squelch out of the buyout? It also maybe leaves some interpretation as to what qualifies as being fired for cause or without cause. Some of the contracts, specify what is, deemed as being for cause. This didn't go into as much detail as a contract such as Kendall Briles or even Dan Mullen. The only thing I could see coming from this, and I talked to Ira about it walking out Monday, maybe part of it you can tell Willie, hey, you did leave us some wiggle here. We can litigate this thing out for a few years, and you can try to get full freight, or give us a little bit of a discount, and we can just go our separate ways. But, Ira's point was, listen, the other people on the other side, CAA, which is Willie Taggart's agency, they've got big boy pants on too, and they're not gonna take something like this going down without a fight. Also, you set yourself up as looking kind of like kind of low rent, probably within the coaching community and the athletic community if you pull this off, I guess, and you don't give them the full buyout. But hey, if you save yourself $3 million and look like a jerk, I don't know. I'd probably would take the saving the $3 million and looking like a jerk.
Yeah, man, it's weird with these contracts. I don't know if it's every college or if it's just Florida State. But do you remember a couple of years ago the Hamilton contract?
Right. Yes.
Where
yes.
I think it was right after they had lost to Xavier in the second round, they got pummeled, and then Ira wrote the story about how he was getting a new contract, like that day or the next week or something. And Wilcox was like, actually, no. Wilcox was like, no, he's actually just signing the contract that he got. He's actually now signing the extension in making it official from the contract we announced a year and a half prior. And then I remember because I talked to Mike Martin about that. And I said, hey, man, is this normal? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I get paid when I'm supposed to get paid, but I think he said something like, I need to go read it because I wrote about it. But it's not uncommon for Florida State to have you sign a contract, but it's not official and I shouldn't say Florida State, it might be all colleges. I don't know weirdly, I've never signed a 7-figure contract. So I don't know how they're all done and how they're litigated and how many lawyers have to see them and everything else. But Mike Martin was like, yeah, mine didn't become official for over a year either. So I don't know what the deal is with the Taggart contract. And I haven't read the article, so I don't feel like I can comment on it necessarily. I will say this, the last point you made is the most salient. If you don't pay the man his money that you owe him and you announce in your contract agreement, whether it was officially signed on a dotted line that had to be on some other document, good luck trying to get another coach. It's not like Taggart was represented by Billy Bob's agency from St. Petersburg. They're the big boys, and they have almost all the coaches. So good luck keeping money. And it's not just Taggart getting that money. His agent gets a hit of that money. Mm-hmm. So imagine trying to keep over $1 million from that agency because you're going to argue semantics and then try to get another one of their coaches. And you can't do it. I get that. I guess you need to write that story, and maybe it gives you a little wiggle room as to say, hey man, we'll give you 80% of what we owe you instead of 100%, but we'll do it right now. Again, I still think your best chance is just name the football facility after him, and you get off scot-free. But either way, you're not going to not pay the guy his buyout because who else would come and work here? There'd be no safety net for any of these coaches to come here. You just fired a guy after 21 games, which is probably not looked favorably upon in the coaching community anyway. And then you don't pay him the buyout you owe him? All right, man. Good luck.
Just got to make sure that when you're signing it's like, I don't know, I don't want to, is this not like maybe marrying somebody that's already been divorced and maybe had a prenup signed or something like that? I mean, just you would know, hey, I got to cover my P's and Q's this time around. I got to make sure that I actually sign a legal binding employment agreement under the state of Florida law. But I'm probably going too far into the weeds on this. What is cited in the story is this happened before with Billy Gillespie, the basketball coach at one point at the University of Kentucky. After 5 months of legal back and forth, according to the story, Kentucky agreed to pay Gillespie almost $3 million, which was about half of what he claimed he was owed. So, maybe.
Well, they didn't struggle getting a coach after him.
That's true.
They did all right with their next hire. Yeah, man. Again, Gillespie got more than 21 games, and that's just kind of it seems to be anyway. I can't remember it. You should have Ira on to talk about it because he remembers the Hamilton contract thing a lot better than I do. But I do remember being told by multiple coaches on staff or on campus that the contracts weren't signed immediately after being announced for some reason. They still got paid what they were owed, but the contracts weren't official yet. And I don't understand why. I'm not smart enough to understand why. I can't even speculate as to why that is. But if they pay Willie Taggart $6 million of the $18 million they owe him, they're going to be in court forever, and it's going to be really hard, in my opinion, to get a good coach. Why? Would you go? What would be what would be worth? I mean, I guess you could go and say, look, we're signing the contract today, and we're putting it in bold print, and I want this money in my account tomorrow. You could make all these demands, I guess, but otherwise, why have a buyout agreement, and then don't hold up your end of the agreement?
When I worked at television, everything was under employment contracts, and I reneged on my contract a few times. So there's a lot of people like, well, your contracts are contracts. You got to honor the contracts. And it's like, well, also, go take a hike with that kind of nonsense. But yeah, I mean, there's TV stations at the local level that people know, like, hey, man, the management here is really a pain in the butt to work for, but it's a top 20 market. So if you're working in Tupelo, Mississippi, or Baton Rouge, and you get a job offer to go work for the number 2 station in Charlotte, you're probably going to go, even if you know they've got bad management. you'll just, you'll kind of grin and bear it, or you'll think that you won't make the same mistakes, i.e., like you won't, go 2 years on just a, letter of agreement as opposed to an official binding contract. But again, this is stuff that's probably out of our pay grade. And I mean, it's just, it's worth writing an article about. I'm not mad that Tampa Bay Times wrote it. But I mean, I think the people that are like, oh, we can maybe get out of this whole buyout thing. It's like, nah, it's not going to work out that way. But on a slow week, it's something to talk about. So that's where I'm at with that one. And with that said, we're done for the day. We're going to have another show for you folks tomorrow because Corey wants to. I'm like, Corey, let's take the day off. Corey's like, come on, let's give the people what they want. So we'll finish up the Renegade Express questions, and that'll be waiting for you, as well as some over-under. We'll have to think about what we're going to do for over-under because the Williams Sportsbook, I didn't get to them. So maybe we can think of something clever in the meantime. He's Corey Mazal. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
If you want an adventure, you could climb a mountain or ride dune buggies through the desert. Or you could just head to your neighborhood Zaxby's. Introducing the Smokehouse Cheddar Barbecue and Southwest Chipotle Filet Sandwich Meals. They're brand new, and they'll take your taste buds to wild and exciting new places. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, and they're both available for a limited time. Only at your neighborhood Zaxby's. And don't miss Jumanji: The Next Level, only in theaters.